Greek goddesses, the breath of life, diagnosis, the ancient Greek medical system of the four humors, and even the story of Icarus, the man who flew close to the sun with man-made wings, is all in the Sage's Toolkit. To say the absolute least about the Sage's Toolkit, it is not only dipped in Greek mythology and medicine, it is literally completely based upon it, not only in name but also effect. And so that's what this video is really all about. It's really about talking about the so-called lore of the Sage's Toolkit and really pinning down what these actually mean. Being super serious, I never thought that I'd be interested in doing this kind of video ever in my life, but at the level of depth and careful details that the developers have clearly interwoven into the kit, I actually find this really cool. Like, I went like, holy crap, I actually want to share this knowledge with people and like actually like have people as hyped as me about it. That's actually not clickbait. I am actually so excited about this. Let's do a wide sweeping introduction to the Sage and the lore. So the Sage is fundamentally based off of medicine, but from there we get a lot of medical history, specifically in ancient Greek medicine, and so you're going to see a metric ton of Greek words throughout the entire toolkit. So let's introduce ancient Greek medicine and the four humors which underpin the Sage's kit. The four humors are four different fluid types in the human body. It was thought that in order to maintain good health that they had to be properly balanced at all times, which was to be in a state of eucrasia, or so-called good mixture of the humors. If these four humors are imbalanced, then you're in a bad state, or better known as dyscrasia, or a bad mixture. The four humors were tied to four different elements: blood to air, phlegm to water, yellow bile to fire, and black bile to earth. Flesh these out in a little bit more detail that I think will be useful context. Blood in ancient Greek was called haima. Blood was considered the essence of youth, health, and the humor of regeneration and vital force. Phlegm was called phlegm, and it's going to be associated with purification, lubrication, oh my, protection, nourishment, and moistness. Yellow bile is associated with chol, or choleric. I swear someone's going to make that comment in the comment section. I'm trying to say it right, guys. I'm trying to say it like cholesterol. The yellow bile is associated with chol, or choleric, and then the gallbladder. And this is all associated with consumption, metabolism, transformation, and digestion. And lastly, black bile was associated with melancholy in the spleen. Commonly, this was tied to condensing, coagulating, and solidifying properties, or for building bones, teeth, and other solid structural tissues of the body. Let's delve into the first humor system. And so we're talking about the cardia, which everyone knows at this point means heart, like the cardiovascular system, the cardiologist. This is a buff that you're going to place on a party member, and the Sage's attacks can really be thought of as the pulse of the heart, a steady heartbeat giving rhythm to the cardia target, better known as the heart of the party. Then it can flow out to the targets of haima, or the blood. And yesterday I posted a video talking in depth about the haima, which is going to translate into blood, and I postulated that it's tied intimately with the cardia system. The haima, aka the blood, is intimately tied to the heart. The blood pumps blood to the rest of the body. Really, you're on the rhythm, the heartbeat of the Sage's attack, non-stop spamming out doses or other attacking abilities to keep the blood and the cardia pumping through the system. I guess this would make the cardia target the heart of the party. How many people are using that title still? I remember it. Now it's a little bit more literal. So getting into the Sage's mechanics and actually into their HUD element, we know that at the top they have 3 charges of Serpent Skull tied to their mechanic. And actually, as a bit of background on that, like the serpent is clearly a very used image in medicine. We have the 2 snakes going around the staff, which is the Caudacious staff, and we have other medical images that are related to like 1 snake going around the staff as well. But the point is that the snake is intimately tied as a part of the representation of medicine. And so on one hand we have the gall, which is all about the healing, and then we have on the other hand the serpent's sting, that's all about the damaging. We'll talk about the sting in a second, but right now let's talk about the serpent skull. So we get 3 charges of serpent skull at the very top of the HUD element. The spenders of this gauge all end with that suffix chol, which, as you know from the introduction here, this is going to be tied to the choleric humors, or the yellow bile of the system. Tarachole is going to be related to taracholic acid, which is a chief ingredient of the bile of carnivorous animals and is used as a detergent to allow the digestion of fats of other animals being digested in them. Oh god, Beastars. The next 3 bile abilities are thought to be related to animals in some way. Dorokore, Ikitsukore, and Kirakore all share the kore at the end, which has led to speculation that these are all related to animals. They're just variations off of the same thing from that kore word. Now, to make that make sense, let's talk about Ikitsukore, which is thought to be related to Ichthyo, which is related to fish. So in essence, this is fish bile. And now the next 2, the exact translations are fairly difficult to obtain. I've asked around in the community and some people have tried to help, but they've all been like, we're not really sure, and I'm not really sure either. I've tried to look, but due to their col suffix, we can assume that they are obviously tied to the gallbladder, which the yellow bile system is based off of, and likely some other type of animal biles. Now let's talk about the Sage's second mechanic, where when a shield is broken, they gain a charge of Serpent Sting, which Toxicon is going to be the spender for that. Toxicon actually comes from the even older word bow or arrow that turned into toxicon from the poison that the arrows are dipped into, which then eventually went into Latin for intoxicare, and now today as intoxicate, which is to poison. And this makes a lot of sense that we are taking the Serpent Sting poison, kind of like the Cole abilities for the cholesterol, we're using like the bile to do different things. We are now using the poison from the snake to do different things. In this particular case, of cast Toxicon to damage enemies. And so we're just dipping our abilities into it to make it deal more damage to targets. Now we're done with the systems for the most part here, and these abilities that coming up are more independent from particular systems, but are nonetheless very fascinating. So we're going to start off with Soteria, which is referring to the goddess or spirit of safety, salvation, deliverance, and preservation from harm. And yeah, like this is kind of crazy that even huge Greek figures like Greek goddesses are being tied into the Sage's kit, which is pretty badass. Next up is Icarus, which is a pretty famous story about the son named Icarus who tried to escape from Crete using his father Daedalus to create wings from feathers and wax. Icarus then flew and went too close to the sun, and then went drowning to his death. Pneuma is from the ancient Greek word for breath, or used in religious context for spirit or soul. Sometimes it's even called the breath of life even, which is super fitting for such a massively powerful ability that does so much healing and damage mitigation as well as damage. I'd say that this is appropriate. Diagnosis is a word that we're all super familiar with at this point, and it refers to the identification of the nature of an illness or other problems caused by examination of the symptoms. Prognosis is the evaluation of the prospect of recovery based on the current conditions of the case presented. Agerio is going to be the resurrection equivalent, is tied to the word agersis, which is in medical terms meaning an extreme state of alert wakefulness, or commonly the Greek used it as rousing up, rising, or excitation. Now, physis is an interesting word that has been used a heck of a lot in different contexts. It's commonly been coined by philosophers of old to be just the word for nature. That's it. But it has also been used in things like I still can't say this. My god, it's been like 8 years and I still can't say the word. Epiphyseal plate growth for bone lengthening during like growth spurts. More likely than any of that, it's probably speaking about the principle of growth or change, or just generally something that grows, becomes, or develops. Although maybe in reality it is really just meaning nature. But for the Sage's Toolkit, I'm kind of preferring the former. Pepsis is actually a pretty fitting name for what the ability does, since it's the digestion of the shield from the Sage that turns that big beefy shield into health for allies. It just makes sense because this ability literally removes or digests the shield away for a burst of health. It really just makes sense to me. Holism is more of an approach than any specific technique or word. It's like the approach of including all factors or looking at the whole of something to try and address something, such as in holistic medicine when treating someone's health. It's going to be physical symptoms, psychological factors, and societal or social influences. Kind of like a big picture of like all the things. Dosis, and this is going to be a funny one, is going to be the single target spammable ability all sages will be spamming as much, if not more, than a white mage does spam Blair these days. Its ability I did a little bit of digging on, but honestly, ultimately I did arrive at this final word. Dosis is meant for giving something. The medical term now today is dose. Like a doctor giving a dose of medicine. I suppose comically, we're giving the enemy a taste of our own medicine. I'm an idiot, but that's literally what this is saying and doing. However, browsing, I did find a definition that I found fitting. The third one here, which is an amount, especially of something unpleasant, to which one is subjected. A dose of hard luck. I mean, yeah, 330 potency spammed right into your face is a big ouchie. Which now I want to cycle back to Eucrasia. Eucrasia is the augmentation ability where it will modify diagnosis, prognosis, or dosis. Those three abilities. Eucrasia is introduced at the start of the video as a balance of all of the four humors. That's a good balance, like a good mixture, or like a healthy state. So Eucrasia dosis and Eucrasia prognosis are good states of determining what is going on and then outcomes for a patient. But Eucrasia dosis, a good state of applying a damage over time effect. I mean, perspective here, yeah, it's great for me to apply a cripplingly powerful damage over time effect disease onto the enemy and laugh all the way home, but like, a good state of an amount, especially something unpleasant to which one is subjected. I don't know what else to say. Now, dyscrasia is in relation to the imbalance of the four humors and bad things, which now in modern medicine is meaning like a disease or a disorder, usually as like a blood dyscrasia disease. And we're doing this in an AoE. Oh great. Phlegma is going to be directly the Greek word for inflammation. Which brings us to the end of this video, so I'm curious, what do you guys think? Honestly, I never thought I'd be this hyped for class abilities, but the synergies here with the Sage are like, this is cool.